Hi everyone, welcome back to Mr. Mescher's Lessons. I know that I'm a bit dressier than usual for the YouTube channel, but the time is 5:42 a.m. and I'm getting ready to leave for my student teaching, but I wanted to get this book review out before I forgot too much about the novel, and I was very excited to record this, so I figured why not record it right before I go. Today I'm going to be recording the video for Posted. This is by John David Anderson and it was published in 2017. Now before I start off this review of the novel, you should know that this is based in a middle school. This wasn't something I was used to reading. I didn't read a lot of books in middle school, nor did I read books about middle school when I was in middle school. So I was happy to see this. It wasn't something I was expecting. I didn't know this when I picked the book up, but I pushed through it and it was actually very enjoyable. The biggest part of this middle school right now is that cell phones are banned. Apparently, too many students had been misappropriately using the cell phones in class, and one student got caught texting a very inappropriate message about one of the teachers, and it was very rude. So the students were banned from using their cell phones. The adults and principals voted on it, and cell phones were banned. In place of this, one of the students decides, hey, I'll use a sticky note and use it to communicate what I'm thinking, and it's just a simple gesture to the main character, Frost. And his friend puts it on his locker, and then it becomes a huge thing. It's propelled in part by the fact that one of the teachers has an activity where they use sticky notes to write a positive message and spread it across the school. But it quickly becomes the primary way of spreading messages, and what's interesting is that unless you sign it, no one knows who wrote the rude things or nice things on the sticky note. But if you've been to middle school before, you know they don't always say the nicest things to each other. The novel gives us a little bit of a backstory before we get into the novel does give us a little bit of backstory before we get into the nitty-gritty of the cell phone ban. Frost is the main character, and he comes to a new school, and he is looking for his tribe. His mother describes it as a tribe. Everyone finds their tribe, and Frost doesn't find it initially, but after a while he does find a group of 3 other boys who become his friends, and they all have nicknames for each other. Frost's real name is not Frost. He was given that because he won a poetry competition in the middle school in the previous year, and all of his other friends have unique names as well. One of his friends' name is Bench because he's a bench warmer on the football team, but he doesn't mind. Frost's mother and father are divorced, and that gives us a lot of insight into his thoughts and feelings into the book. It impacts him a lot, we can tell through the novel. Everything was fine until the girl showed up, I suppose, is what they were thinking, because a girl named Rose is a new girl to the school, and she is looking for her tribe and decides why not try to make friends with Frost's group of friends, and they weren't too happy about this. They tried to push her out. They were a group of 4 and Rose made 5, so that made an uneven table, and they were very nefarious in their ways of, okay, shoo along, thank you for stopping by, see you next time. They ultimately did try to make friends with her, and they do make friends, and this is a primary force behind the story and one that continues through until the very end. The book does have a pretty strong anti-bully message, but in the same respect, it also seems to have an issue with not addressing the microaggressions. So it seems like maybe it's not the best thing in the world if we call Wolf gay or if we make fun of him for his sexual orientation, but it doesn't really address problems like mispronouncing a foreign student's name or other issues to that effect. A lot of microaggressions aren't addressed, so that was disappointing. But it does have an overall anti-bully message. By the end of the story, the students do use the post-it notes for a very positive message, which I love to see. That was very cool, and I was happy to see that. This book has a very school friend drama kind of vibe to it. If you're into drama stuff, this book would be cool for you. If you're not into drama stuff, and I'm not particularly, I don't like a whole lot of drama in my life, so maybe you wouldn't like it as much. I personally enjoyed the message. I didn't enjoy all the drama infused with it, but in the same respect, Frost does a very good job of explaining that in middle school, it feels like. It's the most important thing in the world, in that you have to try your hardest to fit in, and you have to find your tribe, and you have to avoid making other people mad. So he does a great job of explaining why it's so important to the middle school students. I would ultimately recommend this book to any middle schooler. I think this is a great read. It's not too difficult. The writing, it feels like this novel was actually written by a middle school student. It's so well poised to the situation of a middle schooler, the ideas, and there's never a cuss word in there. They always use submissive words like darn or something to that effect. So it's very middle school-like, and I enjoyed that a lot. I think that any middle schooler should pick this book up and read it, and I think it did have a very positive message that middle schoolers would benefit from reading. As for high schoolers or anyone past that, I do think it's a good read. However, I don't think the impact and the oomph of it is there. Overall, I'm going to say if you're a middle schooler, pick it up. If you're not, consider picking it up. If it sounds like your cup of tea, then check it out. If it doesn't, I'd leave it be. Overall, I think John David Anderson did a great job on the novel, and I am excited to get into my next book. But regardless, I thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.